Welcome to Psych Insight, your go-to channel for understanding the world through the lens of psychology. In today's video, we will delve deep into a topic that is often overlooked but immensely impactful: the effect of narcissistic mothers on their sons. We will explore how these mothers, driven by their own emotional needs, shape their sons' lives in ways that can hinder their emotional and psychological growth. We will also discuss the unhealthy role reversal that often occurs, the concept of the surrogate spouse, and how these mothers may live vicariously through their sons. This deep dive into the topic will help you understand the struggles sons of narcissistic mothers face in their journey towards individuality and separation, and the long-term consequences on their adult relationships. If you find this content helpful, please share, like, and subscribe to join our community and stay updated with our latest insights. Your support helps us create more such content. Let's get started. Have you ever wondered how a narcissistic mother impacts her son's life? The effects can be profound and pervasive, shaping a son's development in ways that may hinder his emotional and psychological growth. This relationship dynamic can prevent a son from becoming his own person, significantly affecting his maturity, relationships, and sense of self. At the heart of this is the narcissistic mother's perception of her son, not as a separate individual with his own thoughts, feelings, and ambitions, but as an extension of herself. This perception is rooted in her own emotional needs and desires. Instead of supporting his development towards independence and individuality, she often uses her son to fulfill these needs, creating a relationship dynamic that can stifle his personal growth. A common manifestation of this dynamic is the parentification of the son. The roles are reversed, with the son becoming the caretaker, responsible for the emotional and sometimes physical well-being of his mother. This burden of responsibilities and expectations far beyond his years can be detrimental, hindering his normal developmental processes. In some cases, a narcissistic mother may even treat her son as a surrogate spouse. This dynamic, often referred to as emotional incest, involves the mother leaning on her son for emotional support, companionship, and even decision-making. These roles are inappropriate and unhealthy for a child, yet are often imposed by the narcissistic mother. Moreover, narcissistic mothers may live vicariously through their sons, pushing them to achieve her unmet dreams or fulfill specific roles that align with her desires, regardless of the son's interests or abilities. This pressure can stifle the son's own aspirations and desires, making it difficult for him to pursue a path that genuinely interests him. A key challenge for sons of narcissistic mothers is the struggle to individuate, a developmental process in which a person forms an identity that is distinct from their parents. A narcissistic mother may actively thwart this process to keep her son dependent and close, fearing that his independence would signify a personal loss or rejection. This pervasive influence has profound implications on a son's emotional and psychological growth. The impact of such a relationship often extends into the son's adult life, particularly in his romantic relationships. Recognizing these signs is the first step towards healing and breaking away from a narcissistic mother's influence. One of the key ways this influence manifests is through parentifying. This term refers to a situation where a parent, in this case, the narcissistic mother, reversely shifts roles with her son. Instead of nurturing and caring for her child, she places herself in the role of the one being cared for. She leans heavily on her son for emotional support, placing him in the caretaker position. This role reversal is not just unhealthy, it's downright damaging. It forces the son to shoulder responsibilities and expectations far beyond his age and capacity. Imagine a young boy having to console his mother during her emotional crises, or even make decisions that adults should be making. It's a load he's not equipped to handle. This role reversal places undue burden on the son and disrupts his normal developmental processes, often leading to long-term emotional and psychological effects. Another damaging aspect is when the son becomes a surrogate spouse. This is a dynamic often referred to as emotional incest, and it's as unsettling as it sounds. In this scenario, the narcissistic mother leans heavily on her son for emotional support, companionship, and even decision-making. You see, the mother doesn't see her son as a separate individual, but as an extension of herself, someone who exists to meet her emotional needs. This can manifest in many ways. She might confide in her son about her problems, expect him to comfort her when she's upset, or rely on him to make decisions for her. These are roles that a child, even a grown one, should not have to play for a parent. This inappropriate relationship dynamic can have lasting effects on the son's understanding of relationships. It can shape his expectations and behaviors in ways that make it difficult for him to form healthy, balanced relationships as an adult. Narcissistic mothers often live vicariously through their sons. This behavior is not only damaging but also limits the son's ability to explore his own passions and interests. Think of it as the mother using her son as a vessel to fulfill her unrealized dreams and ambitions. Instead of encouraging the son to carve his own path, she may manipulate or pressure him to achieve her own unmet goals. Whether it's pursuing a specific career or excelling in a particular sport, the son is coerced into fulfilling the roles that align with his mother's desires. This is not about supporting the son's growth or happiness, but rather satisfying the mother's need for validation or accomplishment. In this unhealthy dynamic, the son's unique abilities, passions, and aspirations are often overlooked or suppressed. He becomes a mere actor, playing a part in his mother's carefully orchestrated play. This pressure can stifle the son's personal aspirations and make it difficult for him to pursue his own interests. The struggle to individuate is another significant challenge for sons of narcissistic mothers. Individuation is a crucial developmental process where a person forms an identity that is separate from their parents. It's the stage where we establish our own beliefs, values, and ambitions, essentially becoming our own person. However, this process can be significantly hindered when a narcissistic mother is in the picture. Narcissistic mothers often resist this separation as they view their sons as extensions of themselves, not as separate individuals. They fear that their son's independence would symbolize a personal loss or rejection. This fear can manifest as control, manipulation, and even guilt-tripping, all aimed at keeping the son emotionally dependent and close. In this tug-of-war between a son's need for individuality and a narcissistic mother's need for control, the son's personal growth is often stunted. This resistance to separation can hinder the son's ability to form a distinct identity. The impact of a narcissistic mother often extends into the son's adult life. This statement rings particularly true in the sphere of romantic relationships. Sons of narcissistic mothers often grapple with forming healthy and fulfilling relationships in their adulthood. The root of this struggle lies in the skewed perception of love and connection they've been taught. For these men, love is often synonymous with fulfilling the needs and desires of others at the expense of their own. This model, deeply ingrained by the narcissistic mother, can lead to a life of self-sacrifice, where the son's needs, desires, and emotions are continually sidelined. Imagine a relationship where one partner's needs are always prioritized over the others, where one person is constantly in a caretaker role and the other is perpetually the cared for. This is often the reality for sons of narcissistic mothers. They may find themselves drawn to partners who demand constant attention and care, echoing the dynamics of their childhood relationship with their mother. In such relationships, the son's emotional needs are often overlooked or outright ignored. He may struggle to articulate his feelings or establish healthy boundaries, as these skills were never encouraged or nurtured in his formative years. This leads to an imbalance in the relationship, with the son continually catering to his partner's needs without considering his own. Moreover, these men may face difficulties in forming an equal partnership. They may unknowingly perpetuate the same unhealthy dynamics they experienced with their narcissistic mother, finding comfort in the familiar, however flawed it may be. This can result in relationships where the son's individuality is suppressed, his voice unheard, his needs unmet. These unhealthy patterns can make a genuinely happy and equal partnership difficult. However, it's important to remember that change is possible. With awareness, therapy, and a willingness to break away from the past, sons of narcissistic mothers can learn to form balanced relationships, where their needs are recognized, their voices heard, and their individuality respected. Recognizing the signs of being raised by a narcissistic mother is the first step towards healing. The journey to healing often begins with a moment of realization, an understanding that the dynamics of one's family of origin were not healthy or typical. This understanding is the first step in breaking away from the toxic influence of a narcissistic mother. Therapy can be a powerful aid in this journey. Professionals experienced in dealing with narcissistic family dynamics can provide invaluable insights and guidance. They can help sons of narcissistic mothers understand the nature of their experiences and validate their feelings, something that is often lacking in their familial interactions. One of the most crucial outcomes of therapy is the development of the tools needed to establish boundaries. Boundaries are essential in any relationship, and even more so in relationships with narcissistic individuals. They serve as a protective barrier, allowing the individual to delineate where their needs, desires, and identity begin and end. However, the concept of boundaries may be foreign to those raised by narcissistic mothers, as their personal boundaries were often violated or ignored. Building an independent identity is another vital aspect of the healing process. This involves exploring and affirming one's interests, values, and aspirations, separate from those imposed by the narcissistic mother. It's about discovering who you are as an individual, not as an extension of someone else. Physical separation from the narcissistic mother may be necessary, but emotional separation is often more challenging. It involves untangling the emotional ties that bind the son to his mother, such as guilt, obligation, or fear. It's about learning to prioritize one's well-being and happiness over the emotional demands of the narcissistic mother. Breaking away from a narcissistic mother's influence is challenging but crucial for the son to become his own person. It's a journey that requires courage, resilience, and patience. But it's a journey worth undertaking, for it leads to a destination of self-discovery, autonomy, and healthier relationships.